Cosmopolis is David Cronenberg's adaptation of the Don DeLillo novel about a young billionaire's limo ride cross-town through a Manhattan in meltdown. No limos for me, unfortunately. I took the tube into central London to meet the film's director and his muse, Twilight star Robert Pattinson.
Where?
I want a haircut.
The president's in town.
We don't care. We need a haircut. We need to go across town.
Robert, in Cosmopolis you play a cold-blooded, icy billionaire master of the universe. Is it important to have any kind of sympathy for this man in playing him?
Yeah, I had complete sympathy for him. Mainly because I thought it was really funny at the beginning. I never thought of him as a cold guy. I just thought he was kind of, you know, I would like to know someone like that in reality. He's just uncompromising with everything.
He's really disconnected himself from life as most people live it. He's been very successful as a sort of financial wizard, and that has, in the movie, functions on the level of incredible abstraction. Computerized abstraction, philosophy that's very abstract. And so he's disconnected from humanity, basically. That's really his disease.
We've been married only weeks. Barely weeks.
Everything's barely weeks. We have minutes to live.
We don't want to start counting the times, do we? And having solemn discussions on the subject.
No, we want to do it.
And we will. We shall.
We want to have it.
Sex.
Yes. Because there isn't time not to have it. Time is a thing that grows scarcer every day. What, you don't know this?
There's a lot of dialogue in the movie. It requires someone who can really give that dialogue its spin, its sensuality, its textural value, and not just be bland. And I had seen other movies besides Twilight that Rob had done, and I really was convinced that he would be terrific.
I always thought when I was doing the Twilight series that whenever I had another one to shoot afterwards, I always had kind of a constant safety net. But you realise quite quick, well, not quite quick, after a while, that having that safety net is probably one of the worst things you can have in your head, because if you want to be any kind of artist, because defies the whole point of doing it. Coming out now, when nothing else is in the cinema, apart from like superhero movies and stuff, I think I was a little bit worried about it coming out now, but like at the same time, it's kind of cool that's the it's the 1%, but in a good way. Like, I mean, it's the 1% which isn't like in the movie, in the entertainment industry, the 99% is the equivalent of the 1%.
Andrew, I feel like a bit of a lone voice in the wilderness when it comes to Cosmopolis. A little bit like Jesus, but I don't want to over-egg it. In that I came out of the Cannes screening thinking, this is absolutely great. This is like one of the best films in competition when it played there last month. And then suddenly just everybody seemed to kind of run away from it.
I've got to say, I mean, I've been thinking about it quite a bit since that screening, and I haven't really changed my mind about it. For me, there are all sorts of things that if you're watching it that could be better. I mean, firstly, the sort of whole meat of the subject, which is about the kind of financial crisis of 2008, the sort of the place of the billionaire trader. It just seemed to me that it was very thinly conceived, the way that this figure was sort of moved through these various other personalities, interacted with different people in different environments. It's almost too reverential to these kind of super cool, super talented, super brilliant elites who have the sort of world sewn up, and that what gets them is this psychological unease, really, which is what I think the sort of which what I said the point of the film was.
Both
really.
DeLillo and Cronenberg, they're not overtly political artists, are they? They are more about the social and societal unease. That is what they're interested in, and that kind of subaudible hum of horror in the background that I thought this film did quite nicely. The sense of New York is just almost like this artificial New York kind of sliding past the window, and how these people relate to that, and it becomes like a kind of metaphysical Manhattan.
But I feel events maybe have caught up with it. I mean, this is one of the things we were talking about in Cannes, where I thought that had the film come out when the book had come out, then obviously I think it would have seemed much more pressing, much more interesting, because it's after the event. A lot, many films that sort of try to depict things on screen that aren't actually happening in reality always often seem to fall short. And for me, that really happened with this film.
Henry, are you going to back me up a little bit? I mean, you're a DeLillo fan.
I am a DeLillo fan.
Why didn't this film do any justice to the book?
I'm going to nick a point that Andrew made in Cannes, and he said that the DeLillo's narrative voice is very much a kind of cumulative thing that comes across through all of these characters, and it's wound through everything. And I think that can make the books feel quite personal, in that he's talking to you through myriad different voices. Yeah. But in the film, that weight is basically put on Pattinson, with these other characters dipping in to add lower notes or higher notes to that at some point. I don't really feel like you get any sense of anything human in there.
Yeah, I agree. There's not much heart in there, but I quite like that weird crossfire dialogue. It's that old maxim that modern drama is about people not talking to each other, and so they're all talking at cross purposes, which maybe does work better on the page. But I think Cronenberg did quite well in bringing that tension to the screen.
I think there was definitely a tension there. I mean, what interested me was Cronenberg at Cannes was talking about how when he's filming a film, he likes to set up the shot, make sure that everything's ready with lights and everything, and then go to his trailer and watch the shot from a screen. And I like the parallel, first of all, between the limo and Robert Pattinson, and Cronenberg sat in the trailer watching the thing, but you definitely feel that divide, that maybe he's not really there in the film with us.
I suppose for me, all the building blocks were there for a really interesting film. I mean, you say it's aloof, chilly, unnerving. I mean, I didn't feel that about the film. Had it been aloof, chilly, and unnerving, I thought great. But
yeah.
It just seemed to
Did
me.
you love that?
Damn right I do. It's the three of my middle names. But I always think Cronenberg, as a filmmaker, interestingly, is not what I would call a style merchant. With him, it's always been about the weird things he puts in front of the camera and films in quite a kind of dull, boring sort of way. And he's always managed to find, really, in the past, certainly in his glory days, and found very, very strange, interesting, disturbing things to film. With this, it sort of wasn't really that strange and disturbing, and it was much more left to the kind of eternal verities of acting, camera work, and design, which, to be honest, I think Cronenberg himself is not attentive enough to sort of, or sort of proficient enough with, to really make it hum.